And I think if we get to the place where we admit that this table is going to be a messy table, but we're all here for the
And we're
mess
willing. We're
and we're all
willing.
willing
There
to
it is.
go through the mess and willing to just move through it with each other,
Wow.
right? With all the mistakes, with all the things happening, then I think we have a starting point.
So there's the
Not an
resistance.
end point.
You just brought up
A
something to me
starting
I had
point.
never even thought about. So thank you.
Welcome to Lime Listen and Learn, the People Leadership Lounge. If you're new here, a lime is a Trinidadian way of gathering. It's unhurried, a vibe, and rooted in conversation. The kind of space where people pull up, settle in, and talk about what's really going on. I'm your host, Abbiola Ballah, founder of Fern Education Studios, where I support leaders and organizations navigating uncomfortable workplace conversations through one-on-one coaching and the Clearer Conversations Lab. This is not an interview in the traditional sense. It's a lime. So you'll hear us thinking out loud, making connections, sitting with tension, laughing when we laugh, and staying with the conversation as it unfolds. So pull up, settle in, and let's get into it. Today, I'm liming with Tyler Skinner, and we're talking about all things mentorship. So what it builds, who it's for, who it doesn't work for, and why. All the tea. So this was a great conversation. So pull up a chair and come on. All right, welcome, Tyler. I'm so happy to have you on the show and to be liming with you today.
Yeah,
It's been a long time
we had
coming.
some little mishaps to get here, but we made it.
I know, we really did. We made it. We finally made it. No, I'm really excited to dig in because we're talking about mentorship today, and we're just gonna see where this goes. I've been thinking of, when I know I have a guest coming on, the topic is always like rolling in the back of my head, and I've been thinking a lot about I don't know, like what mentorship promises, what it delivers, and who's actually for, who it works for. And I was actually part of your mentorship program, mentorship community as a mentor last year. And for me, it was my first time being in something like that structured. So, like, I've had mentors before, yes, but it was more informal. And I've given advice to people, I've mentored people, but never in that such a structured, like, container. So, that kind of made me kind of start asking myself, like, in order to be a good mentor, like what are we building? And like, is it confidence, access? Is it community? Is it like an infrastructure? And not only that, like who is benefiting
Yeah,
from it and who is not? And what
yeah.
does that look like? So all the questions, you know what I mean? So lots of thought. And I think I would love for us to kind of I was already making the hand signals. I would
Yeah.
love to us to like pull on these threads because I think we have a lot of threads
I
here and
love
just
that.
kind of
I love that
see
you're
where
already
this
thinking of it
takes
in
us.
terms of these almost like buckets or like different threads to pull from. Like they're different resources,
Yeah.
they're different tools. But when I think of it, I'm so happy you had an opportunity to actually like be in it because you got to experience it firsthand. And
Yeah.
I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm
Yeah.
surprised that you just said that you've never been in a structured like space like that. Cause I assumed, to be honest with you, I assumed that
Yeah.
everyone's doing that. Like that's my assumption out there that everyone's doing this. I just have some other thing. And then when I
Mhm.
hear things like that, I'm like, oh no, no, all these strings you're talking about, it's all of it. It's not one string. You might pull on one at one time or do
Yeah.
different things, but it's what if we could put it all in one place and we could do all of those things? Community, like you were
Yeah.
just saying,
Exactly.
community. Okay, what are all the strings now? I'm forgetting. Community, mentorship, infrastructure, access. I mean, that's a big one.
Infrastructure, access,
Well, and like all of
confidence,
those
all the
things
things.
happen sometimes all at once and sometimes one at a time and sometimes only one or two of them are focused on.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like when you're talking about
Mhm.
this and you're saying I've never seen this, that's actually I'm shocked. Like part of me is going, I did not expect you to say that
Mhm.
at all. Expect you to say, yeah, no, I expect you to say, I've seen this, I've been part of these
Really?
things, or I've been in, because in your space, I would think that you witnessed this. And yes, you have
Mhm.
mentored, and a lot of us have
Yeah.
mentored informally or given advice or We hang out
Yeah.
with people. We want to help them. We want to see people succeed, right? I mean, that's generally my belief. My belief is that
Yeah.
human beings want
Absolutely.
to see others succeed and they actually want to help when they know how they can help. I think if you give them that roadmap and you give them an idea, or you give them
I
a
agree.
motive, some sort of motivation or some sort of tool, they want to use it. They want to help. They want to actually support. I do believe that at the core. I know that people don't always act like it. I know we've seen all the things, the
Yeah.
ugliness of the world, and we've seen how people treat each
Mhm.
other and all of that. But with mentorship, there's a legacy being built in there.
Mhm.
There's like some legacy energy that I don't see in any
Yeah.
other spaces feel very hierarchical to me. Like mentorship is not top down. It's not
Mhm.
managerial. It's not I'm over you as your superior. It's like, "Oh, I'm with
Mhm.
you in this. Like I've had experiences, you've had
Yeah.
experiences. I've got some things to share, you've got some things to
Mhm.
share. What if we got together and we did like we're doing? We're liming, like what if we got together
Mhm.
and we did that? How cool would that be?"
I know, and it was really cool. It was. And I think, it's interesting that you bring that up, how you're surprised that I hadn't been like in a more structured container like that. And I will say, it's not that I shied away from it. I've seen
Yeah.
these kind of containers before, but I always feel that for me, in terms of me having a mentor, that sometimes there was a little bit
Okay.
of a barrier in terms of who my mentor will be. And not just a barrier,
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit of gatekeeping happening. Like I think back to my teaching days, and I think sometimes there was a little bit of gatekeeping, and because everyone wanted the promotion or everybody wanted the good jobs or things like that. But then you found these gems of people who would take you under their wing and help you out and, lift you up. And I was very lucky to find one of those in the space that I worked in, but again, not in a structured container. Like my mentor at the school that I worked at in Japan, like we didn't have a program that says, she's your
Yep.
mentor and you're her mentee. It was just like me asking a question one day, her helping me out, and to this day,
That's so
she's
cool.
still one of
That's so
my
cool. But
closest friends.
statistically speaking, that doesn't happen very often. Like that's the weird part is that if you look at it,
Mhm.
women believe what you're saying, like they believe mentorship is valuable. I'm just speaking to women because that's like who I work
Mhm.
with. That's where I vibe.
Yeah.
That's my soul work, right? My soul speak. Not saying that men don't deserve it, they don't need it, they have it in some ways, they have access to certain things. I'm saying
Right.
that women I see want this desperately, and then yet they don't know how to seek it. They don't know how to make those interactions happen. That one you said, like, I just asked a question. They don't even know that that could be the beginning of a beautiful relationship
Mhm.
slash mentorship that could last years, months to years, where you have somebody in your life that
Yeah.
supports you, sees you, challenges you, champions you all throughout these like different evolutions of your life. And that to me is what I see mentorship as
Yeah.
being the most valuable is the ecosystem that's built. Like I say legacy because I think this goes beyond all of us. Like your
Mhm.
that ripple effect, she gives you this, you give it to
Yeah.
someone else gives it to someone else and on and on and on and on. It's bigger than us. If
Mhm.
we treat it like that. If we treat it like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of women just don't know how to
No,
go about it.
absolutely.
So the reason we created a container or we're like, oh, let's formalize it is because the only reason, so it wasn't for hierarchy, it wasn't
Mhm.
for top down, it wasn't to stifle the
Mhm.
process. It was to expand it. It was to allow
Yeah.
women to just be like, oh, I get matched with
Yeah.
someone. I could actually just be with this person and they're a different industry than me. They're a completely different background than me. It's so much diversity and have them all be
Mhm.
together in one space and
Yeah.
then work together too in a group so that everybody could benefit. Everyone gets to benefit from all that knowledge
Mhm.
passed through.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's, the beauty of having, something with structure. But I think also a lot of the time something that's
Right.
structured is not accessible to everyone, right? So even looking at the informal version of it, like you said, someone who I found is not people can't find them all the time. And I think one of the things for me that I do now, and that's why I said I hadn't mentored formally yet, because I do it informally because I know that I want to be the person
Yes,
that I
that's it.
needed when I was starting out or when I was thing. So I'm always open. So for example, I do this actually through my alma mater for my master's program. They always do a call for people to, talk to the incoming class or talk to, sign up for people to do informational interviews with you. That's what they call it. And I always sign up. And the reason I always sign up is because I don't know, there's something in me that enjoys sharing
Yes,
what I've learned with others, but I also learn from them because it's like this influx of
right?
just new energy coming in this space. So this for my master's is the
Yep.
space of international education. And so in this space of
So
international
broad.
education, which is super broad, so much is covered under that. But it's just like this energy, new energy coming in. So it's like this give and take and this like what's the word? What's the word
Exchange.
I'm looking for here? This when you do exchange, yes, and this exchange
Yeah.
of everything that's happening, and I love that, and I love seeing that, and I want to keep being a part of that, whether it's
Yeah. No, in both.
informally or
And that's the
formally.
hope, right? It's
You
not
know what
just
I
that you
mean?
go and join a container or you have a program or something. The program, I agree with you. The
Right.
program actually does dilute in some ways because of the structure. It does dilute that beautiful magic that you were talking
Mhm.
about when you have informal relationships. When you just have it on the
Yeah.
fly and it's very simple
Mhm.
and you meet informally for coffee every now and then or you go for walks or you talk and you don't have that like someone kind of guiding you or telling you or giving you like parameters, right? You don't need the parameters to those relationships. But there you'd be surprised, Abiola, so many
Mhm.
people, and I think also really post COVID, a lot of us don't know how to interact. Like we've lost a little
Mhm.
bit of our ability, our humanness with AI and with all this stuff happening, right? Our high access and high visibility in social media. I mean, it's always been around. I get it. AI has been here for a long time or these things, but I think that how much of us are using it all the time and how it's always a part of everything we're doing, that to me is like the community part gets lost. Like these things get diluted and we forget that we're human. Like some people forget, like, hey, it's simple as that. I met this woman, I asked a question. She noticed something in me, loved that I asked it, or I was vulnerable enough to ask it, and then came up to me after and said, I would love to answer that for you, or let me go to take you to coffee and let's talk about that. That was such an interesting topic. That doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to, or we think it does. And I just kept hearing over and over and over again from people. And I myself experienced it. I was fortunate to have good mentors. I mean, I have a mentor to this day, like you. I had an informal mentor in college that to this day, I mean, it's 25, we're still
Yeah.
friends. She came to both my baby showers. She's part of my life, right? And she's giving me
Oh,
opportunities or she's still opening doors for me to
yeah.
this day. Just because she's like, wow, I can't believe I saw you as this
Mhm.
18-year-old, bright eyed, really spunky, neuro spicy, right? Human. And you were like ready to
Mhm.
take on the world. And
Yeah.
I wanted to support that. I was like, how do I be part? Like, she's so excited. I want to help her. I want to help her figure it out. And it's always been like that. And she's kind of always been in the background. It's like people, we don't talk. We might go a year or two without talking. But it's like when we reconnect or we find each other on social media or Facebook
Mhm.
or whatever, she kind of reaches out and we do touch-ins. We get together like no time has passed. And that to me is something how do you put a price tag on that? How
Mhm.
do you put a structure on that? How do you really, really say this is how you do it? There's no program or prescription or anything or
Yeah.
training that's going to give you that. I don't know if that exists. I just don't know how to, we're
Yeah.
just working through it. We're just
Absolutely.
figuring out how we can provide more of those opportunities more easily. Then that's your access
Yeah.
question. That's like, how do we get access? And then the other part is how do you give access to people who can't
Mhm.
maybe afford it or people who can't get, there's so many questions like that about access. And we ask those all the
Yeah.
time. I'm constantly asking myself, like, who else
Mhm.
needs this? How do we get it there? And I'm
Yeah.
honestly met with a lot of opposition. I'm not going to
Mhm.
lie. I've been met with resistance. I have. And it sucks.
Mhm. Mhm.
No, that all I was just saying
Yeah,
is it
'cause
sucks.
oh, go
It's
ahead, go
hurtful.
ahead.
to me. It's
Yep,
hurtful to me, and I'm not
absolutely.
gonna like die on this vine or anything, but it's hurtful to me almost at a core level that when people say like I believe in leadership or I believe in these things or I'm behind these, they justify it, right? Behind these initiatives. But I'm like, but it's gotta be for everybody.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're for this thing, then it's not just for one group or
Mhm.
one person, or it's got to be for everybody.
Mhm.
And so you're not really for that thing. You're for that
Yeah.
thing with conditions attached.
Mm. Yep, absolutely agree. And
You're
that
like,
kind
here I
of
go. Here I
okay,
go.
you speaking my
I saw
language.
you. Let me
Wait,
finish.
let
Let me
me let
finish.
me
Let me
let
finish.
me let
Listen.
me sit up here. Let me sit up here because one of the things that for me that is always in my brain around this idea of mentorship is just if we're making it for everyone, we also
Yeah.
so let's
Yeah.
stick
Yep.
with the audience of women, non-binary folks as well, bringing those who identify as women into it. Not all who hold that
Yep.
identity are the same
Yep.
because
Exactly.
they're also
Yep.
holding other identities.
Agreed.
And when it comes to mentorship and when it comes to even as leaders, even within a workplace, like setting it up within a workplace or anything like that, wherever it's happening, like one of the things I think is missing or the biggest gap that I've seen is the understanding and the accounting for that mentorship and what it looks like and what the advice looks like and what how it will land differently depending on the person
Absolutely.
and
I have
the
friends that are
identities that they are
DID,
walking into the room with.
dissociative. That so I totally hear what you're saying. And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
respect that because I'm not going to call myself guilty, but I will admit that I'm part of that only because we focus in, we hone in our
Mhm.
lens on one thing and it can become siloed. It can feel like, but we've got to do it like a bunch of different
Yeah.
people. We all have to be working on these things. And then at some point, how do we all come together? That's the community piece where we're like,
Mhm.
we are all global citizens. We are all part of
Yeah.
this bigger systems. Like, how do we all work around that? If I'm doing this and so is doing this and so is
Mhm.
doing this, how do we piece it all together? And I think that's where it gets sticky. And that's where people are trying to, they're like
Mhm.
dancing around things and they don't want to say it. They don't want to admit things. They don't want to be able to have awareness because they're just going, once I see it, can I unsee it? Can I actually go back? You really can't. Once you've taken that step forward and you've put yourself
It's
out there,
very
it's
hard
hard to
to.
go back. And so I'm not
Yeah.
faulting anyone. I know that people are well meaning. Like I said, I think
Absolutely.
most people are well intended. I started saying that out that I fully believe that people at a core
Mhm.
level, because we come into this world, I believe, kind of like without all this stuff, right? We don't come into this world with all these like layers of things and judgment and
Mhm.
criticism and all that. This all comes from the world we live
Yeah,
in, right? We're just in these different spaces trying to operate, trying to figure things out. So I'm
absolutely.
not blaming and I'm not judging. What I'm trying to figure out about or I'm working on or I'm trying to share and move forward in the world. And you're basically telling me it's wrong because just because you don't understand it or just because you don't like
Mhm.
what we're doing right now, why can't we lime about it? Why can't we
Mhm.
just discuss? Why can't we start just sharing openly and vulnerably? I'm confused or I
Mhm.
need to help me understand. This is not where how I grew up or I don't
Yeah.
know if this works. I don't really want to. I mean, then we could all really have real
Mhm.
conversations. That's my wish. I know that's hopeful,
Mhm.
wishful thinking. People say like you're so idealistic, whatever you want to say, but I believe that. I've seen it work in those mentorship experiences like you've said when we could just say we're different. We are completely different people. We're different
Mhm.
ages, we're
Mhm.
different races, we're different industries, we're different all the things. But maybe different religions,
Yeah.
everything, right? You can go on and on and on. But at some point there is a core thing I guarantee you
Mhm.
could find where it brings people together. Like there is something that those two people could find that they agree on. I think there's one thing. So you can't say
Oh,
that person's just, you
absolutely.
write it all off because it's like,
Absolutely. I
I
agree.
guarantee we spent time on it. And that's all I'm
Mhm.
asking for is for people to be a little bit open, to be like open to discussing or exploring and to
Mhm.
be able and willing to try something. And then that's it.
Mhm.
And we can kind of work with the rest. We can
Yeah.
help you move through it. We can
Yeah.
provide you with someone. We can do all these things. And yeah, it's not perfect. Like you said, it still needs more access. It's still going to need more
Mhm.
refining. It's still
Yeah.
going to need all these things. But
Yeah.
we can get there, but it
Yeah.
takes feedback and support, but for constructive parts, right? Not to destroy. It's like, here, I want to see
Mhm.
this succeed.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. And I think even going even deeper, I think it comes with the people who are doing the mentoring and the mentees themselves as well to look to be open to also understanding that just because something works for
Hmm.
them will not work for someone else. And to not say so I'll just, you know, give examples. There are certain systems that are in place that
Hmm.
do hinder people to like get promotions or do hinder people from getting a better salary or from getting time off or from people
Yep.
saying that oh they are the
Yep.
aggressive ones if they
Totally.
ask for something. And that is just the reality
Yep.
of the world that we live in right now. That is there.
Yeah.
So just saying have more confidence and go up to your boss and ask for a raise to a black woman, they're like, well,
They're
actually,
like, nope.
I'm kind of the only black woman in this office.
Yep.
And that's not going to work for me because if I even hint at being forward and confident, my
Yep.
confidence
Yeah.
gets like even just me being like this right now
Yes.
will get
Yes.
seen as aggression versus I am confident in what I'm saying and I'm passionate.
So that
Instead of
now you're
passion,
talking
I
more
get
about
aggression,
allyship.
right?
Like
And
where
I'll
are
use
the
I favored.
allies that come in and they help support that ecosystem or
Mm-hmm.
space to where that woman could do that with confidence, where she could be like, you know what? And there are
Yeah.
ways, like you said, but how do you refine that where it's we get that all the time. Like it's
Yeah.
are you the bitch or are you I mean, you hear that all the time. Like, oh, she's so
Mm-hmm.
difficult to deal with. So and so she's difficult. Well, she's not difficult. She just asked a
Yes.
question you didn't want to answer or you weren't prepared to answer,
Mm-hmm.
or you didn't like that she was direct or forward, or that she's trying to actually build something within
Mm-hmm.
this company or organization, or she's trying to figure it out. I'm not saying people aren't that way. I'm not saying there aren't people that aren't, but also have we looked at her
Yeah.
situation? Have we stopped and thought, is she been passed over a million times for promotion? Is she getting paid less than her counterparts and she
Right.
feels marginalized and diminished? So she's going to act that way to be seen. Maybe she's just screaming inside and it comes out like aggression because she's like, I'm freaking
Yeah.
sick of this. You know what I mean? I'm just done with it. And she doesn't know if she can leave that
Yeah.
job or leave or that relationship because she feels fear around it. She feels like I've got bills
Mm-hmm.
to pay. I've got a family to feed. I have all these other
Yeah.
needs and these things. I can't just do that. And so that's what I hear from you saying is like, how do we then support people that we know? But this is the storytelling. This is part of where mentorship and allyship become really instrumental because then you can share those experiences. Think about yourself coming out of that space. It's almost out of body. Like if you could be removed from that environment for a second, and then you got to
Mm-hmm.
be with someone who is completely different than you, didn't know you, and could kind of walk you through it, like really listen to you, be present because they don't know you that well, don't know your background, your story. They're not in your office. They're not part of your even your industry, right? And they're listening to you and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking through this with you and they're going, you know what? I'm hearing this, or I think it builds confidence automatically. It allows them to hear themselves out loud, sometimes for the first time, that they actually spoke something out loud that they were holding inside and resenting and it was stewing in them and brewing for a long time. And I've seen women cry. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen them like just completely break down. I've also seen women do what you were said. I've seen women speak up for that raise. I've seen women rework their performance review or even this,
Mm-hmm.
ask for their boss or someone for a completely different restructuring of their job description. That changes everything about that
Mm-hmm.
because now they're
Mm-hmm.
committed. Now they're engaged again. They
Yeah.
feel seen. They feel part. And like, it's so good for the leaders or the leaders of those spaces or those companies to look at that and say, this is valuable for us. And that's where I'm getting frustrated because I'm talking to those people at the top, trying to share
Mm-hmm.
with them and educate them and discuss. And they're looking at me with this, like, it's like blank sometimes and crickets.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand. I'm like, I get that you can't understand it, maybe, but could you at least get curious for a second? Could you ask
Yeah.
questions? And then if we can start dialoguing and you can see
Yeah.
whether we've been successful at it or what the testimonials are, or just look at it from a different lens, you might be able to see that the people in your office or in your space really are starving for it. And and if you can give it to them, they feel so invested in. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this happens 100% of the time. I'm just saying that generally speaking, what I've seen is that when you, for women, we're talking going back to women again, or those that identify, women need to be tapped. They love being invited, and their nature is like, you saw me, you invited me, you saw my work, you. It's not just validation. It's like, could I see something in you? Can you come? Can you come and like meet me? Can you come into this program or do this thing? Or we want to invest in you in some way. You said it best with like those informal relationships where you're like, it could be as simple as someone saying, "I love that question that you asked. Can we talk after this? Can we go hang out? Because I want to know more about what you got going." It feels so good, doesn't it? Didn't that feel so great? Yeah.
I mean, it did. I'm
And you're
remembering it
still
was years ago,
connected,
but yes,
but
of
you're
course
still
it did.
that little
I'm
spark
sure it did.
created a friendship that you
Of course,
really
yeah.
replicate any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a
Yeah.
friendship more than
Yeah.
over 10 years in the making as well. No, and I absolutely agree. And I think, we're one of the things I think for mentorship to work, especially if it's within an organization and you're having like mentors and mentees within the organization, there also need to
Oh,
be
that's a
this
good one.
like culture of accountability built into the organization as well, because I think that is something that is also missing, like a missing piece. Because here's the thing, people hear these terms like
Tips.
mentorship and allyship and all the ships, and they think they work
Oh,
in silo from each other, but they don't. All of these pieces have to come together, and they have to like they kind of feed
oh,
off each
oh.
other, and they work in parallel, they work together, they work sometimes against
Yeah.
each other, but it has to be there. And accountability, I think, is one of the biggest ones, because if in the broader organizational culture, there is kind of an avoidance of
Oh, yeah. I
accountability
call it confronting, but you call
conversations,
it accountability.
right?
No one wants to have
Then
the hard
how do
conversations.
you,
It's awkward.
right, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
And they always will be. And I think what happens is that a lot of the times you hear advice, and I think a lot of people shy away from like mentorship or even like talking, because they're afraid someone's just going to tell them, well, just be more confident or just be braver, and then you'll be okay. You just have to go with it. The one I used to hear when I worked in social impact that
Say it.
used to annoy me. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it, probably unpopular opinion, people, but this pull yourself up by the
Yeah.
bootstraps and get
Yeah.
things go. No, just stop. Just stop. My boots have no straps right now. I
Yeah.
don't wear boots. I don't
I
do
don't wear boots. I'm in
I
summer
don't do
24
winter. I don't
7.
wear boots. I try to be as
Yeah,
much as I
I
can.
do.
But you know what I mean? Like all these sayings that are
It's
just
all
like, if you
BS.
work harder, if
It's
you are
BS.
braver, if you are more confident. It's BS if there's no culture
I agree
that
with you. People that make
supports
that
that within the
so my thing
organization.
is somebody made that up along the way. I said this a lot in
Exactly.
entrepreneurship. People would say, like, I would go, yeah, someone made it up that you have to
Hmm.
do a business this way, or you have to build a business plan or blueprint. This is all made up. These marketing funnels, all these things, these are made up
Hmm.
constructs of humans' existence, right? Somebody made that up. It worked for them. It worked for some other people. And then they said, this is
Yeah.
what works. And people just buy into it. So what we just proved our point is that people are what make it. If people don't buy your product or your service, you have no clients. You have no
Yeah.
audience. If people don't agree, like in a church, if people don't come to your
Yep.
service, you are not the pastor. Like you're not the lead. Like, right? You have to have people to make it happen. And so to make it so, that was my thing, to make it
Yeah.
agreeable. Like we all
Yes.
agree that this is the thing. So in these companies, I've seen some really amazing leaders. One of the things I've seen the most is the humility, right, of some of these leaders. And that's a key one for me. That gets me kind of like fluttery. Like I get really excited about that. And also watching these people that actually ask those hard questions, like you said, they go into all the departments, or they go walk the floor, or they go and ask even people in the mailroom or something like, how is it going? How are you feeling? What's happening with you in your life? They would find out so much more. I mean, even my little tiny company, right? I have only 4 or something people. They're all independent contractors. I don't have employees. But even asking one of my people, what's going on with you? I discovered something. I'm not going to put it on blast here or share it because it's personal, but I discovered something about them that I said, I would never have known that had we not had this one-on-one conversation. I would never have known that you were going through this and that you were experiencing this. And now I have a completely different outlook on how we're going to approach this project, because I understand that you are going through this whole other thing over here that is completely distracting you from getting deadlines met or getting this done. So if I just keep hammering on you for deadlines, you just keep backpedaling, and you actually almost do the opposite. You resist and you go the other way, and you shut down and you don't deliver because I'm forcing you into something that you're not able and capable to do. And you only would know that from having those conversations. So I completely agree with you, Abbiola, going way back to what you were saying about mentorship, allyship, and even here's the other ship, sponsorship. That's the other ship we missed. People talk about it a lot on LinkedIn. Have you heard it? It's like, I saw something the other day where someone said mentorship is not the thing. It's really sponsorship. And I said, actually, no. I responded and I said, actually, I disagree with you. Mentorship is what gets you the confidence. It's what builds you into the person that can go ask and find a sponsor. Because people aren't just going to sponsor you. They're not just going to say, hey, you deserve it because you're a woman, or they're not just going to do that. They need to see something in you. And that only comes when, like what you said, I could ask for that raise. I can raise my hand and I can confidently ask, or I can ask more questions in meetings, or I can get clarification, or I can have hard conversations. People see that in you and then they want to sponsor you. They're like, hey, and you can ask for it also. But I feel like it's interesting because people think it's all this, like, you're right, it is siloed. People want to put everything in all these little compartments and be like this over here and this over here. And I'm like, what if they all were firing together, and what if everything was working, or it was like I said, an ecosystem? It's not a hierarchy. It's actually like horizontal. That's what I feel like leadership and what we're moving into is, and mentorship. It's a horizontal experience. It's the Knights of the Round Table. You know, it's like we're a council. We're around a table, and everyone gets to talk, and everyone gets to be seen, and everyone gets to say something. And I'm not saying this for companies. Don't get me wrong. Whoever is listening to this might be like, oh, she's talking about this in like companies and corporate spaces. I'm not saying that you have to restructure your entire company to do this. What I'm saying is these little spaces provide that
that's not it.
experience where people can feel heard and seen enough that they will go for the advancements. They will go for promotions. They will bring people up with them. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So I know it's proven. I just don't know. I'm not saying this is the end all be all either. I always tell people, even with our program, I say it's an and, not an or. I am not replacing what anyone else does. I am just an addition. What if we could look at everything like in addition to?
Yeah, exactly. No, I absolutely agree. I think we have to look at it in that way. I think if we don't, I think we miss so much
Yeah.
nuance that's happening even just around the table that we have. If we're just thinking, okay, well, we're all around the table, we all can speak, we all can do this,
Yes.
but there's still that but, because can we really? You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, even in those
100%.
spaces, some voices are louder than others. Even in those spaces, you find that other people are pulling up, other people are sponsoring, people tend to lean a certain way, right? Because the understanding is easier on one end than it is on the other. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at with, this idea of mentorship, allyship, accountability, sponsorship, all the things, right? Is that we can't, yes, idealistic, we want everyone to be equal. We want everyone to have equal things, but we can't look at it in terms of equality. We have to
Good
look
point.
at it in terms of equity, and we have to look at it in terms of fairness. So, one of the things I think is, left out, I guess you could say a little bit, is that, even you're talking about the idea of having the round table, which I love, by the way, but everyone is still not, yes, the round table, is meant to not show hierarchy, it's not to show there, but it is in the system that we live in, like the hierarchy is there, right? Because, and we can all say it, because we live in a
Yep.
world where we have white supremacy culture. We
Yeah,
can say it,
we can
right?
say that.
So that hierarchy is going to be there. And if that is not acknowledged, right? If we're just like, oh, well, we're all equals because we're around this round table.
Yeah, it's not
That's
symbolic. It's not just
it's
the
no.
positioning of being in a round.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know
We're
what you're saying.
not we're actually not all equal. We're not, number one, we're not all starting at the same point, right? In
Right.
the race,
Right.
in this race that we're running here called
That's why
life.
even merit-based things don't work. Like it's not equal. And so I
No,
think when
it's
people
not.
say, well, everybody can start from the same place, they don't, because it's
No.
education, it's where they come from, there's so many factors that
So many
yeah,
factors
absolutely.
that are in there. Also, equity has to play a role, right? This idea of, if you don't want to use the word equity, this idea of fairness.
Yeah.
And what works for one is probably not going to work the same for someone else. And as a mentor, as a mentee, we have to acknowledge that and hold that in there as well, and I think one of the other things, and this is why I also brought up this idea of accountability before. I'm kind of just piggybacking off a bunch of the things you said just now. This idea of accountability, um, is that, damn, did I just lose my train of thought? I probably did. Hold on, it's gonna come back.
It's coming.
Wait, it's gonna, damn, perimenopause. One of the
It's real. It's a real thing.
It is. It really is. Okay. One of the other things when we're talking about, gosh, did I just lose it? No, it was a really good point.
I know, and the accountability part was a big one that you brought up in the beginning.
Wait.
I liked it.
Okay. Accountability. Hold on. Where was I going with that? Damn it, Abbiola. I frustrate myself when I forget that easily.
It happens. It does. It does
It
happen.
does. Okay. Let me just kind of talk it out. All of this will be cut out, just by the way.
Yeah, that's the perimenopause comment. You sure? That was great.
No, I might keep that part in, but all of me going is probably going to get cut out. Okay, let's see. Wait, it's like at the tip of my
Okay, let's
tongue.
go back through it. You went through equity and you went
So we're
through
talking about
merit.
equity,
We went through you don't
merit.
start from the same place. So therefore being at a circle or being at a table doesn't really take out the fact that there's still that in
Yes.
existence. And then
Yeah.
that everyone needs to acknowledge. And then you went into accountability.
I got it. The accountability. Thank you. So when we're talking, I'm bringing it back from when we were talking about accountability. And one of the reasons I brought that up is one of the biggest things I think people forget is that when we're in these spaces, because these spaces is all about having conversations with each other, right? And, giving advice and talking to each other and, interacting, is that a lot of the times we, of course, have this positive intention.
Yes.
Right? We want people to succeed. We want them to move forward. We want them to keep going. But we sometimes forget that positive intention does not always mean that it will be. Wait, positive intention does not always mean that harm will not be caused.
Yes.
Right?
Very good point. That's a very good.
Yeah.
And again, harm will not be caused unintentionally. Like that happens more often than we like to admit.
Exactly. And that's where the accountability piece comes in.
Okay, now I
Because
see where you're going with that.
Can't
Circle.
take account, if you can't take, why can't I speak anymore? If you
Like what? Can I acknowledge it?
can't acknowledge, right, that you created harm
Yeah.
with someone,
Yes.
right? If you can't take accountability for
Yeah.
what happened because you're like, oh, but I didn't mean it that way. I
Yeah.
didn't mean for her to do it that way.
Yeah.
Right? Then what's the point?
Yeah. So that's
the
why
harm
people
is
say
still
things like
there.
gaslighting and all that, because they're like, you can
That's
just
the
say, you say, yeah,
right.
but you said this, or yeah, but I was just doing this. And it really, you're right. It does. It makes the other person on that end feel as though you're not respecting, where they're coming from. And I think that's
Exactly.
that's what I mean about this though. But this is where I think what you were talking about, we were talking about with corporate culture, these things like that.
Mhm.
This is where it's hard because it takes so much,
Yeah.
it takes time. It takes time
Exactly.
and understanding and
Mhm.
patience and
Mhm.
vulnerability and accountability. And these
Mhm.
things are not things that we are comfortable with. They are not
Nope.
things that we practice on a daily basis.
Mhm.
They are not things that we all want to do automatically,
Exactly.
raise our hand to just volunteer for. So they become brushed under the carpet, pushed
Yep.
aside, and then
Yep.
we just keep plowing ahead and going with our
Mhm.
mission and our thing and our getting our ROI and making sure this
Mhm.
happens. We're like a machine. And
Yep.
because we are so human doings, we forget about being human beings. And part of human
Absolutely.
beings is us looking at each other and saying, yes, I acknowledge that, Abiola. Yes,
Mhm.
if we don't look, we just spent almost an hour talking about this. And it's like, not
Mhm.
everybody would take an hour out of their day on a Friday because they're like, I got so many emails, I got so much to do. And this is what we're
Exactly.
asking women and everyone in this, what we just started talking about with mentorship. This
Mhm.
is what we're asking people to do is step
Yeah.
outside of that for a second, get into a space where you can actually acknowledge your
Mhm.
resistance to things. You understand that there's someone else on the other side that yes, they can guide, they can support, they can provide advice,
Mhm.
and so can you, vice versa.
Mhm.
And then kind of realize that they're so different. And that is a good thing. Because I've had
Yep.
people come to me and be like, how come I didn't get paired with an engineer? I'm an engineer. It's like, why would you want that? Why
Yeah.
would you want more of the
Yeah.
same? How is that person going to help you grow? How are they going to help hold
Mhm.
you accountable? How are they going to?
Mhm.
And that's the training part. That's part of where we all have to have those discussions. And we just
Yep.
have to be open and say, someone like you, Abiola, needs to come into that space and say, hey, this is my perspective. I
Mhm.
remember you sharing something with us in the group that was so
Yeah.
powerful about how you feel being on a plane or how you feel in certain spaces, right? And you're like,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
all of us, all of the people on that call, there was a pause
Mhm.
and they said, "Oh, I didn't even think of it that way." That and I get the chills when you just thinking about that. That is
Mhm.
what we need more of. We need more people
Yeah.
to step in there, speak up
Mhm.
about those things, share their personal experiences and truths. Not
Mhm.
you weren't doing it to shame anyone. You weren't blaming anyone. You weren't blaming
No.
the airlines. You weren't saying, "My God, they should create this." You weren't
No,
doing
no, no, no. It's
but
not
you were
about
saying
that.
is this is reality for me. And we were
Right.
saying, and then when more people start to do that, but also guess what you did? You gave other people permission to do the same thing for
Yeah.
themselves. And then you could say, "Oh, I didn't see it that way. I didn't know."
Yes.
But that requires a huge level of self awareness, openness.
Mhm.
And so that's what we're
Mhm.
building. That is the ecosystem. That is
Yeah.
what we are aiming for is that
Yeah.
more conversations like this can be had outside of your daily grind so that
Mhm.
you can stop being in that rat race and that whole
Mhm.
thing. And you can take yourself out and be more in the being, more
Yeah.
present. And then you can witness and experience what somebody else is experiencing.
Mhm.
And then you'll realize, and you might actually look at yourself and go, "Oh, do I hold these truths still?
Mhm.
Is this me, my perspective, or was that handed to me? Are
Yep.
these my beliefs? Is this really
Mhm.
how I want to operate, how I want to be?"
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
questions can't be asked without pause, without some pause
Mhm.
and reflection.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
don't give
Absolutely.
ourselves that gift enough. And I
Yeah.
feel like we're
Mhm.
so in our culture, and I'm just speaking of like US culture, we're so
Mhm.
in Europe. I lived in Europe. They had it was like beautiful that they had
Mhm.
family integrated and time out for
Mhm.
connection with community and people. And
Yep.
that's why there's so many blue zones and all those things around the world. They're
Mhm.
like people are eating differently and
Yep.
they're walking around. I mean, I just feel like in the US, one of the things that's challenging is that we're so focused on hyper focus on go, go,
Mhm.
go, do, be, more, more, more. And
Yeah.
it's it's okay in some ways that
Mhm.
we are ambitious and we are driven and we want freedom.
Mhm.
Like everybody wants this like dream and they want to go after their things.
Yeah.
But in the other part, the part that destroys us is little bit by bit, it eats away at like our humanness sometimes of our
Yeah.
connection. We forget that, oh, there's a person. Then we start getting in these networking things and we start exchanging cards and we become so transactional that
Yeah.
we forget that it is about relationships. It is
Oh,
about transformation.
absolutely.
The transformation comes from relationships. You shift
Yeah.
culture when you're talking about culture in these spaces. The way to
Mhm.
shift is discussions. It's
Yeah.
getting down to it. Like let's get to the core of this.
Mhm.
Let's talk about it. And then we
Mhm.
we find solutions together.
Yep.
And I don't know if everyone's
Yep.
ready for that. I don't know that everybody's ready for that. I don't know that that's going to happen overnight. I know that is a long arduous process and we've been at it for I don't know how many hundred years. I'm
Exactly.
not saying it's
Exactly.
gonna happen overnight. I'm just saying I wanna be a part of it. I want to be a part of it, big or small. I want to be in it. I want to get myself in that and say, okay, I'll do it. I'll raise my hand. I'll
Yep.
volunteer. I want to do it.
Mhm.
Do you want to do it too? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Like, I'll do it. Will you? That's sort of
Right.
how I
Yeah,
feel
and that
about it.
absolutely that makes a lot of sense. I absolutely agree. And I want to go back to what you were saying about how like in the space like shared what I shared and made people think about and I think we were talking about body size or something like that
Yeah,
and
I think it was that.
or
It was
or
like
a
the plane
disability.
seat.
Right,
Yeah, it
or
was like
something
how they
like that.
don't
Things I
accommodate
have
you.
to think about.
Yes.
Things I have to think about when I fly, right? When
Yep.
people think it's so easy. Something like that, right? However, here's the thing. Here's the piece that I think it's missing a bit in that. I have had years of work on myself and reflection on myself and work on my own trauma and stuff to be able to stand up in a room
And say
and
that.
say those things,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Not everyone has that and not everyone is able to do that. And I think sometimes if we're waiting on people to say that, we might be waiting a really long time because not everyone is
Wow.
able
Yeah.
to do that, you
Yeah.
know? And I think because then it comes down to your putting the onus on those people to share with you their trauma and to teach you about that
Yeah.
trauma so that you can become aware. How can we go about that a little bit differently?
Wow.
For me, it's okay for me, this is what I do. This is my work. I
Mhm.
am open to sharing all these things. But someone who's just,
Yeah. Well,
doing
like
their
you said,
job, that's
the
not
woman of color that's like, I'm not gonna put myself on blast. I'm not gonna be out
exactly.
there putting more attention on me than
Exactly.
already is. Um,
Exactly, because there's a
yeah,
risk to that.
I get
And I
it.
think sometimes we forget that the risk is not the same for everyone.
Right.
And I think going back to that round table because I love it. In the round table that's there, we have to remember that so many things are not the same, right?
Wow.
And we have to acknowledge
Yeah.
not in a we're all different. Let's, be different and let's kind of pick at the different ones and make it like a thing. But in that we are being mindful, we are taking accountability that we're going to
Mhm.
make mistakes, right?
It's
We're going
ownership.
to,
Yeah.
it's ownership, right? We're not going to be defensive if someone does say, hey,
Mhm.
that actually hurt me. We're not going to also, kind of we're going to take time to reflect as to why something makes us feel the way we felt when somebody said something that you're like, oh, but I told my other mentee the same thing, but
Mhm.
how come it didn't work for you? Or my mentor said to do this. How come you can't do, like whatever the scenario is,
Yeah.
right? And I think if we get to the place where we admit that this table is going to be a messy table, but we're all here for the
We're
mess
willing. We're
and we're all
willing.
willing
There
to
it is.
go through the mess and willing to just move through it with each other,
Wow.
right? With all the mistakes, with all the things happening, then I think we have a starting point.
So there's the
Not an
resistance.
end point,
You just brought up
a
something to me
starting
I had
point.
never even thought about, so thank you.
Mhm.
There's the
Yeah.
resistance. The resistance is its change and uncomfortability and not knowing and the
Mhm.
unknown and all that, but the resistance is that, the willingness. Maybe we're not yet
Mhm.
willing to admit or to engage or to actually support or to go into that. Like, maybe we're not
Yeah,
willing. It's the willingness brings the unwillingness can bring the resistance. I did
exactly.
not even see it that way. No, I
That's
really
why we
didn't.
lime in.
I love the
That's
yeah,
why
that's
we're
why we
liming.
do.
That's
Because
why
I
we're
had
doing
never
these.
seen it that way, that it was I'd always kept thinking, "Yeah, they're not ready for it," or whatever else. I kept feeling that way internally, but I couldn't
Mhm.
articulate that
Yeah.
until now. It's that they're unwilling to put money behind it or to, come and
Mhm.
bring people in or like actually like show up as the leaders that like actually say we believe in this or share it with the team.
Mhm.
Like, they're just unwilling to have those conversations or ask for those perspectives or be in the messiness and the
Yeah.
uncomfortability. They're just
Yeah.
unwilling. It's like
I
I
think
think of it like a
yeah.
marriage, like a partnership and a marriage. If you two people are willing then therapy works, right? If two people
Mm.
come in and they're like, I'm willing to work on our communication,
Mhm.
both of them, if one person's like forcing the other one to go to
Mhm.
therapy, right? Because they're like, this is what we need this.
Yes.
The other
Yes, yes,
person
yes.
feels resistance and they just shut down and they don't even engage with it. And you get
Mhm.
nothing out of it. You end up divorcing anyway. But if you had the ability, like someone could say, hey, I wanna do this. I'm willing.
Mhm.
And then you, like you said, the other person on the other side could say, yeah, then let me share this with you. Then let me go ahead and do this and be
Yeah.
vulnerable about it.
Yeah.
Then we can come to something that is so key. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and I think it goes even deeper than being unwilling because I don't think it's unwillingness all the time,
Yeah, but
right?
what
I
else?
think that's
There's that. What other
that's
layer?
I think there's a piece of it. That's a piece of it, but I think it's also the fact that we build walls that we are not even ready to accept for ourselves,
Yeah,
right? We build the fences, right? We don't even know. Like I always tell people, we don't know all the biases that people are coming into space with. And sometimes we don't even know all of our own because sometimes
that's
it
the
comes
awareness
up
piece.
and it hits us in the face and we're like, I did not realize I felt this way about that. I need to pause and think about that for a second because,
Mhm.
whoa, right? But even being able to say that piece that I just said, right? That comes with work and that comes with practice, right? And I think that's another piece. So, yes, for some
Wow.
pieces of it, there may be an unwillingness. Some pieces of it, there may not practice, there may not be awareness. So I
Yeah.
think it's so nuanced
So it's this
that it's
combination
not
and layers
just
of things that
one
we have to uncover.
thing. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, we can keep going on and on and on and on and
No, but
on,
I think
but
this
I
is a
think
great ending point of that because we just had a revelation that I think was really important in this conversation. And like I at least did. And I think that we got to a point where you're right. There are so many layers to it. And like you started with the strings and pulling, you pull them all at once sometimes. And sometimes you pull one at a time. And you just kind of manage and work with what you got, like with what you're
mhm,
willing to do, what you know how to do,
yeah.
what you're capable of doing, what your bandwidth
Mhm,
is, what you're aware is going on. I
mhm.
mean, that's it. You don't
Yeah,
always have all those
exactly.
things, those pistons firing at once.
We don't. We definitely don't. So yeah. You were breaking up there, so I may have to cut off
Oh,
what you're saying. Just
I was
letting
just
you know.
saying you
You
don't
were you
always
were
have
breaking
those
up a lot.
pistons firing at once because you could pull the
Yeah.
different strings, but we don't have maybe the
Mhm.
awareness or the willingness or all the different nuances we talked about to be able to
Mhm.
do that all at once.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So yeah, I think we're at a good place where we
This is
can
fun.
start to wind down. And I do want, yes, but I do want, I mean, we've been bold the entire time during this entire thing, but I do want to get a little, not, look, I really would like you to have your moment to
Mm.
say it with your whole chest, right? So this is the part of the
I'm
show where we drop the filter, which we've been doing the entire show, and say the thing that you really believe. It might be uncomfortable, it might not be popular, it might be tender, right? Or it might be loud, but it's something that it's honest. So, Tyler, say it with your whole chest.
I'm going to say it with my whole heart. Here we go. So, this is tender for me because something just happened recently. So, it's very, very raw and very real. I want women to stop competing with other women. I want women to find the place in themselves, the sovereignty where they feel satisfied and they feel comfortable and they are willing to say, this is my lane. This is who I am. This is where I am, the self acceptance and the worthiness. Really a big believer of this. And it is a journey. So I'm not saying it's all at once, like we just talked about, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting with bated breath for women to stop tearing down other women to make themselves feel better because they're working in a construct and a paradigm and a programmatic system that was not built for them. And so it's very inauthentic and we all feel it. Those of us that are on the other end of the receiving end, which just happened to me, of that girl on girl crime. It is hurtful. It is deceitful. It is shameful. It hurts. And I don't want to experience when I witness other women who are nervous and cautious about going into places where it's only women. I want that not to be that way. And the only way we can do that is if we all agree, like we just said, we all agree that we're going to start being messy and being okay with it and being vulnerable
Mhm.
and holding each other accountable. So that is
Yeah.
part of my mission right now. is I'm going to start calling it to the carpet. I'm going to start volunteering when I'm going to apologize when I mess up. I'm going to ask questions and be more curious. I'm committing myself to that. And I want anyone listening to this to do the same. And for the men of the world, please become more of the allies that we all know you can be and that you want to be. I know many men that have been mentors to me that have given me lots and lots, and women. I mean, I've had both. I've had many men that have supported my mission and my vision, and I want to see more of that happening. We all have to work together. We all need each other. And I don't want any more of this division. It's not us versus them. We are different biologically. We are different all these ways. But I really want men to start saying yes when they have giving access, like you said, access through capital investment, through investment in mentorship, through investment in allyship. I want to start seeing those things happen for those that have the ability to, whether you're male or female or you identify as one. I want you to give where you can and look at yourself for a second and say, this is an opportunity being presented to me. I can just give to that. I can volunteer. I can give resources. I can support this and get behind it. And if I don't, and I can't right now, I can push them over to somebody or give them a contact or someone else and connect them to someone who can.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see more of. That's my open heart, because I have been deeply hurt and wounded by both men and women. And I am just like, and I'm still here kicking. I'm still here doing it. So I won't be knocked down. I won't be belittled. And I no longer will dim my light to make other people feel comfortable. That's just one of those things. I'm just going to keep doing it, keep going, and find other ways around it and find other loopholes and find the spaces and places where people will listen. So I'm grateful to you, Abbiola, for this listen and learn into Lime with you, because that is the funnest thing I can think of, is to be able to share my true self and my voice. And so thank you for that.
You are absolutely very welcome. We are not dimming our lights. We are taking up space. We are saying it out loud. We're doing all the things. I absolutely love that. And you said that with your whole chest, heart, all the things.
Oh, I felt it.
And I loved it.
Pulling my heart.
Yeah, I felt it too. I almost started tearing up because I'm like, yeah. I didn't want to like talk over you. So I'm like, I got to stay quiet. But no, I love that, Tyler. I absolutely love that. And I feel that. I felt that in my soul, because I think it is important that we are here and we are part of the human race, and we are going to take up that space, and we're going to be, sharing our light with others.
Yes.
In the best way possible, in order not to harm, but to help,
There it is.
So I think that is the beauty of it. All right. So Tyler, thank you so much for liming with me today.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel like we pulled out a bunch of these threads, and I really appreciate like the honesty and the boldness and just the joy you brought to, conversation here today. But before we wrap, please tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on right now.
So the best way to find me, obviously social media is where I play. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tyler Skinner. That's easy. I love answering messages personally, not all AI based. I answer them, and I'm serious. And I also have Women Making Waves is the company, the community. It is at women.making.waves on Instagram, or you can find me at the Tyler Skinner on Instagram or thetylerskinner.com.
Awesome. And all of that will be in the show notes for you to just click on and head over to check Tyler out. Tyler, again, thank you. I'm so glad we finally got that.
Me too.
To everyone listening, thank you for aligning with us today. Genuinely. Whether you've been here from the beginning or this is your first time, I'm so grateful that you chose to spend this time with us. And if this conversation resonated with you, please share it with a colleague, a friend, someone you think needs to hear this. And also, don't forget to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening right now, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever, so you don't miss the next one. You can also join our mailing list at ferneducationstudios.com for resources and updates that don't make it onto this feed. This kind of conversation is also at the heart of the work that I do at Fern Education Studios, working with managers, directors, and career professionals on uncomfortable workplace conversations that matter the most. If that's something you want to explore, you can learn more at ferneducationstudios.com. all of these links will be in the show notes. So until next time, my friends, keep liming, keep listening, keep learning.